Hola, hola, hola. So, welcome today. So, basically, we're going to talk about some of the challenges that people face when they move abroad. Because, quite honestly, moving abroad is an exciting and often it can be a life changing experience, but it can also be a difficult and challenging process. So, hopefully, after this presentation, you'll have a general idea of some of the things that you need to watch out for, because just knowing about a lot of this stuff can make your planning and preparation and transition phase much, much easier. People oftentimes they leave early, they go back due to some of the things that we'll be talking about. For example, making friends can be a challenge, and just being lonely, financial strains, the language barrier. So again, as you become aware of these things and realize that a lot of this stuff and feelings and emotions are normal, and it's just part of the transition phase, you have a better chance at making a successful transition when you understand this stuff. So with that said, let's go ahead and hop into it. So language barrier, obviously moving to a different country means that you're not able to communicate easily with people around you. I know when we initially moved to Colombia in South America many years ago, my wife just broke down crying. This is like after the second or third day in Colombia, she just broke down crying because she was unable to order a hamburger. We were in the restaurant in the mall and she just lost it. You know what I'm saying? Because think about this, you're an adult, you've been able to take care of yourself uh, for most of your life, and you've been able to communicate and just say what you want. And now, for the first time as an adult, you're unable to communicate. It's like being a baby, it's like being a child. You're unable to communicate your needs or your wants, and it can be overwhelming and stressful. So my advice is to whatever country you're going to go to, try and learn the language in advance. Start taking online classes. Thanks to, due in part to the pandemic, while it was a horrible time, it's also opened up all sorts of opportunities for us to welcome in online learning. And so you have a lot of opportunities to find language teachers in the country that you're going to be moving to, and taking 30-minute classes or 1 hour Zoom classes and learning from a native. And I say that's important, learning from a native, not these apps like Duolingo and these other apps, but learning some of the basic stuff from a native so you can start training your ear. What I found was that those Spanish language learning apps they were helpful in learning some basic words. Once you landed in that new country and you started hearing the words from those individuals' mouths, sounded completely different from the apps. Didn't The dialects are different, the way they pronounce the words. In many cases, the meaning of the words are different. And so I think it's important if you take the time and hook up. So like, for example, here where I'm after this recording, I'm in Mexico, Merida, and it's far more beneficial to take a 30-minute online language class maybe every week and learning from a local Mexican versus just some Spanish teacher who may live in Peru or Spain. Is not the same. So learning the basics. Also, if the language barrier is something that is going to be an issue for you, or you just feel I'm just not going to be able to learn it, consider looking for other countries that speak your language. So, for example, if you speak English, there are quite a few other countries where you can go where the primary language, well, not necessarily primary language, but where English is a very well spoken language in that country. And there are English speaking countries that you can move to and live to. So also consider that. Don't feel you have to go to a foreign country where you have to learn their language. It's not necessary. There are other countries that will speak your language. Now, so for example, we're in Mexico, where we're at now in Merida. the vast majority of people speak Spanish and do not speak English. However, there are other parts of Mexico where English is more widely spoken. So the key here is to just make sure you do your research. Don't underestimate this language barrier thing. It can be an issue for some folks. It took me, I've been here now going on maybe 19 months, and I'm just at a place now where I'm very comfortable. Although I don't know the language, I probably don't even have it 25%. But I'm getting there, I'm close. However, I'm confident in that I know enough to be able to communicate what I need. And I'm confident and understand that if I get myself in the bind, typically, there's a good chance that one person in the group or in the store knows just enough English to help me get by. And I don't hesitate to use my Google Translate app on my phone. You got to build a confidence for that. Now, when I first got here, I was nervous about pulling out my Google Translate app. I was concerned about what people would think about if I was trying to use the app and all of that. So, but over time, you get that confidence, and you're saying, okay, it's not the end of the world. I need some help. Let me get my app, or let me ask if anybody can help me. And day by day, I learn more words. I learn different phrases. I learn that people correct me when I'm saying something wrong. And as time goes by, I'm getting better and better and better. So don't underestimate this one here. Get a head start. Start taking some online Zoom classes from a local in the country that you plan to live in, and it's helpful. Because when you get off that plane, you're going to be overwhelmed with all the chatter that's happening around you. Also, a different culture. Again, it can be difficult to adjust to a new culture and customs. Different places do things differently from the country from which you come from. For example, I got locked up in jail here in Mexico for 2.5 days. Went to go visit a friend. They gave me their address. In the WhatsApp, they was like, when you get to the house, it's a black gate. Open the gate, come through the door, knock on the door. Open the gate, come through the gate, knock on the door, and we'll let you in. I went through the wrong gate at the wrong house. It was the house next door. I opened up the gate, walked through, knocked on the door, quickly realized it was the wrong door. Got back on the phone, tried to figure out where I was at. Realized I got in my car, rode around, only to realize I was at the right place, but at the wrong house next door. Went into the right house, hung out there for a couple of hours, came outside. There was a whole bunch of cops outside. Long story short, I got arrested for trespassing. Even though it was a mistake, the cops were trying to convince the lady, oh, this guy, he's a foreigner. He wasn't doing anything nefarious. In fact, he was next door. If he was up to no good, he wouldn't have been next door, so it was just a clear accident. He went to the right place, and the lady was just insisting on pressing charges, and the police hands were tied. They was like, we don't want to arrest you, and we're trying to reason with this lady that it was a mistake, but she insists on pressing charges. And since she insists on pressing charges, we have to take you to jail. So I went to jail for 2.5 days. They let me out. The prosecutor was like, there's no case here. It was an honest mistake, blah, 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 blah. But my point is, different cultures, different things. Here in Mexico, you just do not go on anybody's property at all without permission. And now that I've been here for a while, I notice how people do when they come to my house. I have a driveway. I don't have a gate. Even when the people come deliver the water, or if we call a service provider, they won't even walk into my driveway. They will stand on the edge of the road and they will holler from the street, trying to get our attention. Hola, hello, buenas tardes, trying to get our attention and to get us to open the window, get us to open the door, to acknowledge that they're there and to give them permission to come forward. So these are little things I did not know about. So make sure you start to do the research and try and learn some of what the cultural norms are and what some of the customs are, so that you don't find yourself in a situation. I don't think now the cops and all the other locals all agreed that was over the top. They felt that perhaps there was something wrong with this lady, that she didn't have it all together. That was not the norm. They think most people wouldn't do that. You know what I mean? So this was a very unique situation. But now I know here it's very custom. A man's house or a woman's house is her castle, literally. Oftentimes you hear people complaining about dogs barking, making noise in Mexico, and nobody shuts them up. Again, the customs are what goes on my property is my property, and it's none of your business. And that's just the way it is with these cultural norms. So, again, do the research, figure out and do the research, learn, join Facebook groups, participate in different forums in the country that you plan to live in or visit, and try and figure out and learn what those cultural norms are and the customs are in that country as well. Financial issues. Moving abroad can be expensive, and it can take time to find a job or establish yourself financially. Most places you can't work there, depending on the circumstances or the type of visa that you have. But it can be expensive. Even moving to countries where the cost of living is drastically less. And I always make this comparison, doesn't matter how cheap a particular place is. If your spending habits are poor, they're going to be poor wherever you go. It doesn't matter how cheap things are. If you blew all your money in the United States or wherever you live or wherever you come from, you're going to blow all your money when you get to another country where things are practically free. It's all about our habits. So my advice would be work on changing those habits and making new, better habits, because the financial issues, man, all kinds of stuff can come up. The medical emergencies, you might not have saved enough, you might not have brought enough money with you, and you might have lost your job prior to making a move. Once you made the move, you might lose your job back at home. And so you just have this challenge of replacing that income, and that strain is real. We had quite a few medical emergencies since being here in Mexico, and we needed to kind of reach out for some help. You can plan and plan and plan, but sometimes these emergencies and life just throws a curveball at you, and you're in trouble. You know what I mean? So again, plan for emergencies. Make sure you have some health insurance. Make sure you have life insurance. Make sure you have traveler insurance. Make sure you have extra savings for emergencies. Make sure you have extra money for plane tickets or a line of credit cards that's not maxed out in case you need to hop on a plane and go back home for an emergency, or if you need medical emergency. So just also plan for that, because again, this is real. Very real. Homesickness. I've been here 19 months here in Mexico, and I've seen a lot of people leave because they miss family. This is a real thing. Be ready for this. Leaving your family and friends behind can lead to feelings of loneliness and homesickness. That is a very, very real feeling. Set up groups. Again, the technology that we have is awesome, because we can do video chats with our family and friends, group chats. We can always be in contact. And again, I understand being separated from family and friends can cause anxiety, particularly if you have older parents at home who might need some assistance and whatnot. So plan for that. A young lady I met here, she was like, man, she's in her 50s. And her mother is like in her 80s and 90s. She was like, I decided to bring my mom with me and was able to get some help with a what do you call it? Living assisted living facilities down here in Mexico. Very, very affordable. She was paying a ton, you could spend a ton of money in the States for that same type of service, anywhere from 5,000, 10,000 a month. Here you can get it for about $1,000 a month. So instead of delaying her trip here, she was like, I'm just gonna bring my mother here with me. Other people have done the same thing. They're able to hire home health care workers to come home and assist with the care of their parents. You know what I mean? So don't feel you have to leave family behind, particularly in this particular conversation piece. If you're dealing with a elderly parent or a parent who needs assistance and whatnot, bring them with you. Don't let that stop you. And in this case, it can be much more affordable here, and you can kind of get your life back because now you have some assistance and you have some help. So just wanted to run that past you as well. But again, set up times where y'all get on the chats and talk with each other and keep abreast on what's happening. Just having those phone calls and video chat with family and friends can make a difference. Same thing for your children as well. Allow them, they are already on social media. They are already chit-chatting with their friends. So the homesickness thing might not be too much of an issue for them, other than participating in activities and sports that they might have been used to in the States. Make sure you get them in something that they can get involved with here, so that they can settle in and acclimate a little better. Immigration issues. This is a big one as well. Obtaining a visa or permanent residency can be a complicated process and can be difficult to navigate. A lot of people, and I found myself in this boat here as well when I first got here, it wasn't never my intention to live here. It was only after I got here that I fell in love with the place, and then that complicated some things because the only way to get a temporary visa or a permanent visa, I had to go back to the United States and apply for residency at a Mexican embassy in the United States. So, but because I was already here with my kids, I didn't want to go back to the States and do that process. So we had to navigate through some things and some difficulties, spent a lot of unnecessary funds getting extensions and then waiting to qualify for special programs, which if we got caught, you run the risk of being deported. But fortunately, we were able to get the paperwork done and we were able to qualify, et cetera, et cetera. So, but not everybody has that luxury. So I see people on a daily basis that are trying to figure out some loopholes or opportunities or options for getting their visa and or permanent residency. So if you know that you want to be moving to a particular place for an extended period of time or living there for an extended period of time, or if just the idea is a possibility, do the residency paperwork, do the research what your options are, and start that before you leave, depending on which country you go to. I just know Mexico requires you to start the process in the United States or in the country that you reside in, and then you complete the process when you enter into the country. So do the research. You don't want that stress. It cost me a lot more extra money doing it the way I did. It's far more cheaper to have done it in the States. So do your research, do your homework. There are a lot of Facebook groups that you can join and participate in and get some real feedback. The best advice I would suggest is just go to the embassy website and get the information directly from there, because everybody and their mama will have an opinion on what you should do and how you should do it. Go to the folks that do this all that already do this, go to the embassy website and get the information there, or pay an immigration attorney. That that's my best advice, because otherwise you'll stress yourself out. Access to health care. Depending on where you are moving, you may not have access to the same quality of health care that you are used to. Fortunately, here in Mexico, I've been very pleased with the quality of health care that they have here. I'd go out on a limb and say I prefer and like the quality of health care here better than in the States. Here, when you talk to the doctor, they give you their name and phone number and WhatsApp number, and you can talk to them directly before the procedure, after the procedure. Um, and that is just a big plus. You can get direct, you don't have, there's no middleman. You literally going direct to the doctor and they're talking to you. I had a tooth pulled out the other day and I was talking directly to the dentist for about 2 days prior to my appointment. I wasn't talking to the assistant. I was talking directly to the dentist. And after my procedure, the dentist followed up to see how I was feeling. I was like, oh, I'm still bleeding. I still got this. And they gave me some advice and tips. And I was able to talk to them directly. So I love the quality of care. But again, check to verify whether or not your health insurance policies will work in the place that you're going. If not, when you get to that country, well, not when you get to that country, do the homework in advance to see what you can do to get health insurance in that country prior to coming. So that way you know what your options are. Because although the healthcare can be very, very affordable like it is here in Mexico, it can be quite costly due to emergencies. Many hospitals and healthcare systems do not accept U.S. insurance, which means you have to pay for medical care. And many places won't treat you until you pay in advance. So that's just something you have to be mindful of. And that's not just Mexico, that applies for places like in Europe, and Asia countries as well. You pay to play. There's no, we're going to stabilize you first and figure out how you're going to pay. No, they won't treat you. So do your homework. Do your homework. The healthcare system may not be the same as it is in the place that you're coming from. Different laws and regulations, and we talked about this briefly already. Every country has its own laws and regulations, and it can take time to get used to them. Do the research. Find out what the rules are. For example, here, auto insurance is much cheaper than it is in the States. The rules here is auto insurance covers the car, not necessarily the individual people that drive the car. So like for example, United States, when my kids turned 16, my insurance went up because in the States, insurance companies want to charge individuals that's driving the car. 16-year-olds are much more high risk, so the policies shoot up. Here, that's not the case. You know what I mean? The insurance is on the car. In fact, if insurance here, just to give an example, might be $150 for the whole year. And if you were to buy a used car from somebody else, and let's say they bought insurance on it 6 months earlier, when you buy the car, the insurance transfer over with the car. That means you don't have to buy any more insurance for 6 months. The car was already insured. So little things like that. Also, again, find out what the rules are. Trespassing, walking through somebody's gate. Under no circumstances, particularly here in Mexico, do you go through anybody's gate. You had them come out to that gate and open that gate. You know what I mean? So there's no confusion, because the rules and the laws can be drastically different. Here, for example, when we go to the beach, generally they got roadblocks all on the road, checking for people that are drinking and driving. Yeah, I don't know what the rules are in the States about being forced to take a breathalyzer, but here you take the breathalyzer or you get your car impounded and go to jail. Period. And they stop every single car that come at that checkpoint and have you blow into this thing. So again, um, investigate the rules and the laws, join these Facebook groups, find out and learn from others, and do the research before you get there so you're not thrown for a loop. Now, safety is a big thing. Depending on the country, you may have to be aware of your safety and surroundings. I'm here in Merida, Mexico. Again, I know I keep saying that. Um, very safe. Say it's the second safest city in all of North America, which Mexico, United States, and Canada is considered North America. So it's the second safest city in all of North America. Even from Colombia, I always had to watch my surroundings and be aware. Now, for the most part, I've always felt safe, never really felt threatened or concerned, but I was always mindful. Every time I was out making videos with my phone, recording, the locals would come up, put that phone in your pocket, you opening yourself up to getting robbed or somebody coming by and snatching your phone. And people will always say, people are watching and they're looking for an opportunity. Don't give them an opportunity. I was outside one day with my laptop. Oh, same thing. Put that up, take it back in your house. You're opening yourself up to get robbed. So when I got here and didn't have to do those things in Merida, it was a big sigh of relief off my back. And so I was like, wow, I didn't realize how subconsciously I was worried. I was nervous. I was always just being mindful. Here, I don't have to do that as much. So again, do the research on the country. Now, there's places in Colombia where the crime and the robbery is significantly lower in other parts. So again, do your homework. For me, Medellin probably not a place I'm trying to live long term, although it's beautiful. But when you experience the peace of mind and the safety that I get here in Merida, it's like I probably don't want to go to Medellin. Particularly now, a lot of folks are being poisoned with that scopolamine dust that they blow in your face, make you dizzy, and they're able to rob you and take your stuff and whatnot. You hear more and more stories about that happening. Um, so do your research. Find out what the safety temperature is in the area that you're going, and pay attention and listen to the folks that tell you what to do. They'll oftentimes tell you, don't dress too flashy. Look and see how everybody else is dressing, and you just more or less dress the same. Don't be coming in there with this big bling on your arm and all this jewelry, and everybody else is dressing down. So try and blend in so that you don't stand out. So again, these are tips that they will give you in these different groups and forums, uh, depending on where you're looking at going. Different countries, as it relates to food, different countries have different cuisines, and they can take a time to adjust to the new flavors and dishes. And I can tell you that's the truth here. Food here in Merida tastes different. They have a different cuisine. The foods are different, and the way we season our food in the States and the way they season their food here, night and day. It took a while. It took us probably about 6 to 8 months for our palate to adjust. Everything that we ordered the first few months was like blah, blah. Now got used to it. I enjoy the food. I love the food, but it was a phase we had to kind of go through. We had to deal with it. We had to adjust. That's what I'm looking for. We had to adjust to the different flavors and the different dishes and the different way they make their food. Now I appreciate it in the beginning, not so much. So food is a very important thing to you. Again, do your research. 'Cause I know a lot of folks consider themselves foodies And the last thing you want to do is end up in a place where the food is not great. Now, obviously, here in Mexico, there are plenty of other cities and states where the food is just immaculate and most talked about. The food here in the Yucatan is different. I will tell you that. You know, I mean, so if food is important to you, do your homework. Finding a place to live in a new country can be very difficult and expensive. Now, again, don't get tripped up on this idea that because the rent is significantly less here, that it won't be expensive. I've seen people move 4 and 5 times um, within a year, just because one, they rushed through it in the beginning, didn't take their time. They end up in a place that they don't like, or they signed a 1 year contract sight unseen. And so they're constantly moving, particularly here in Mexico. Typically, you'll pay anywhere from 3 to 4 deposits up front, 3 to 4 month rent. And when you do that, and then you leave 2 months later, you losing your deposits. Then you got to pay more deposits again. And then if you move a third time, and if you leave early, you lose your full deposits, and then you gotta pay another full deposit, 3 to 4 deposits, moving to the next place. So that's why I say, even though the cost of living for these homes or apartments can be significantly less, they become expensive when you're throwing out money like that. So do your research, ask questions, talk to people that have boots on the ground, talk to people that are actually living there, get advice. Don't rely on your own understanding. Don't look at a map and think that because it looks far away on the map that it really is. I've seen folks look at places, they was like, oh, I didn't realize it was that close, or the opposite happened. Well, on the map, it looked like it was far away, but in reality, it's only a 5 minute drive. You know, so again, talk to people in the groups. There are Facebook groups out here for every city that you're trying to live in. Go in there and talk to them folks. Ask questions. Do a search. Search for the hashtags. Search for the neighborhoods. Find out from people that are living there. Also, try and talk to the locals. Find out what the locals say. Because the other thing is, you don't necessarily want to live where a bunch of other foreigners are living at either. One, you'll pay more. Two, you dealing with foreigners or expat drama, but you don't want that headache at all. You know, so again, do your research. Don't be so quick to feel that you're getting a good deal because it's half the price of what you would pay in the United States. Don't base it on that. Find out what the locals pay. What is the actual price locals pay? Not base it on what you pay in the States. And I made that mistake when I first got here as well. It's a common mistake people make. You see a big fancy house. Oh, that house would cost $3,000 in the United States, and I'm getting it for $1,000 a month here, which is extremely expensive. But yeah, still a deal nonetheless. But when you find out that you could have the same thing for $530, you realize you paid too much. You know what I mean? So talk to folks and give feedback on ideal places to live. Me personally, I like to live out in the rural area, further away from where much stuff is happening. I'm a recluse. I enjoy quiet time and don't really like being around a lot of folks. So my standards are different. So that's pretty much it. I hope you found this helpful. Again, a lot of this stuff is really about preparation and planning and just getting in your mindset that these are some of the challenges I'll face. And a simple tip, just get in your head that I'm going to ride this out for 1 year, regardless of how I feel. Because see, your feelings and emotions, they're deceitful, and they will have you making decisions that you shouldn't make because of how you're feeling in the moment. So your feelings and your emotions can be deceitful. Just make up in your mind that 1 year I'm going to ride this out. And I promise you, if you're able to do that, far more of you will have a more successful transition and are much more able to assimilate into the local community. Because what you're feeling in month number one is excitement. In month number two, you start to have doubt, start to question your own sanity. Will my family and friends right? Oh, I'll never get this language thing. I'll never understand. This is more difficult than I thought. Maybe I need to go home. No, ride it out. And each month will get better. 6 months, you look back and you be like, oh my God. Your confidence is much better. You're in a different place. 9 months, it gets even better. 12 months, even better. 16 months, off the chain. You know what I mean? So, and even for me, it just gets better and better and better. So I hope you found this helpful. We have a new platform that we recently launched at our website called moveabroadandthrive.com. Please go there, get more tips and resources that'll help make your move abroad a much more successful one. If our content is helping you plan your move abroad and you find our content helpful, please consider making a donation. Cash App, $Cartess Ross. You can also make a donation via Zelle with my email address, cartess@cartessross.com. Also, you can make a donation by way of credit card. Go to the website, moveabroadandthrive.com/donate. If you're on your mobile device, you'll see the little hamburger menu there. Click on that menu, opens up, click the donate link, and you can make a donation there. So thank you for watching. I appreciate you. Please pass the word around that yes, you can actually have a life when you find the country that works best for you abroad.